The hidden decision your brain makes before you ever speak. Why do some highly capable women naturally command a room while others begin to overthink, over explain, or second guess themselves in high visibility moments? Traditional leadership development usually points to confidence or communication or executive presence. Those explanations certainly matter, but they raise a different question. What determines whether your brain allows you to fully access the capability you already possess? Because something happens before confidence ever has a chance to show up. My name is Amir, founder of the Confidence Frequency, and I help high performing women in technology delivery position themselves to become the obvious choice for 150K plus executive facing leadership opportunities through three foundational pillars: nervous system regulation, belief recoding, and identity recalibration. Today's conversation begins even earlier than confidence. It begins with the biological system quietly deciding whether your brain should prioritize performance or protection. By the end of this masterclass, you'll understand why two equally qualified women can perform very different in the exact same executive meeting. You'll discover how one small structure in the brain influences communication, decision making, executive presence, and leadership performance long before you're consciously aware of it. Most importantly, you'll begin to understand that what often looks like a confidence problem may actually begin much further upstream. Have you ever walked into a meeting, or have you ever walked out of a meeting thinking, I knew exactly what I wanted to say? Why didn't I say it? Or maybe you did speak up, but afterward you replayed the conversation, you thought of better examples, better wording, or a stronger answer, and you knew your capability was there. It just didn't show up when you needed it to. Most people call that a confidence problem. Neuroscience suggests something much more interesting. Your brain may never have been trying to help you perform. It may have been trying to protect you. That distinction changes everything. Because before your brain decides what you're going to say, it decides something else. Is this environment safe enough for me to fully show up? The answer begins with one of the brain's smallest but most influential structures, the amygdala. Most people imagine the brain working like this. Something happens, you analyze it, you decide how to respond. Your brain doesn't always work that way. One of the amygdala's primary responsibility is rapidly evaluating incoming information for a potential threat. Notice what is being evaluated. Not whether something is dangerous, but whether it might become dangerous. That's very key there. The difference matters. From an evolutionary perspective, reacting to a possible threat unnecessarily carried a relatively small cost. Ignoring a real threat could cost your life. The brain evolved accordingly. It became remarkably efficient at prioritizing protection over certainty. Before you're consciously aware of what's happening, your nervous system is already making predictions. So think about the last executive presentation you gave, or just think about the last presentation you gave in general. Maybe nothing objectively dangerous happened. No one yelled, no one criticized you, no one questioned your competence, yet your heart rate increased, your breathing changed, your thoughts became harder to organize. Why? Because the brain isn't responding only to facts, it's responding to what those facts could mean. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux demonstrated that sensory information can reach the amygdala through rapid neural pathways before extensive conscious evaluation occurs. So, in other words, your body can begin preparing for protection before your conscious mind has fully interpreted the situation. That helps explain something many professionals experience. You don't decide to become tense, you notice that you already are. You don't intentionally lose your train of thought, you suddenly realize it's already gone. Your physiology changes first, your awareness follows. Here's where the story begins, especially relevant to leadership. Most executive environments aren't physically dangerous, they're socially significant. Presenting to leadership, receiving feedback, disagreeing with an executive, negotiating compensation, leading organizational change. None of these threaten survival. Yet, social neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman's research suggests that experiences involving social rejection engage most of the same neural systems associated with physical pain. From the brain's perspective, belonging has always mattered. For most of human history, exclusion carried real survival consequences. Modern organizations have changed. Our biology hasn't caught up nearly as quickly. Now let's look at why two equally qualified women show up very differently. Imagine two women, both have 10 years of experience, both understand technology, both prepared thoroughly, both earn their seats at the table. One begins speaking with clarity. She thinks strategically. She responds thoughtfully. The other begins monitoring reactions. She softens her language. She over-explains. She hesitates before speaking. She hesitates before speaking, and she hesitates before disagreeing. Traditional leadership advice often assumes one woman is simply more confident. Neuroscience suggests another possibility. One nervous system is allocating more resources toward performance, the other is allocating more resources toward protection. The difference doesn't begin with intelligence, it doesn't even begin with communication, it begins much earlier. This is where the confidence frequency expands the conversation. Most professionals develop Most professional development begins with behavior. Speak differently, stand differently, project confidence, communicate with authority. Those approaches can certainly improve performance, but they begin after the brain has already determined whether protection or performance will become the priority. The confidence frequency begins further upstream. Our framework focuses on three foundational systems: nervous system regulation, belief recoding, and identity recalibration. These pillars don't replace the neuroscience. They help explain why the same research produces dramatically different outcomes across individuals. When those systems begin operating in greater alignment, confidence no longer feels like something you're trying to manufacture. It becomes a natural consequence of internal safety. So now let's look at a few key takeaways. The brain evaluates safety before it evaluates performance. The amygdala continuously scans for protection or potential threat rather than objective danger. Physiological responses often begin before conscious awareness. So long before your brain recognizes what's happening, your body already makes a prediction. High visibility leadership situations can activate the same protective systems designed for survival. Two equally capable professionals may perform differently because their nervous systems have prioritized different objectives. And confidence may be less about personal or personality and more about whether the brain has determined it is safe to fully access existing capability. Now, in closing, if you've ever left a meeting wondering why your performance didn't reflect your capability, you may have been asking yourself the wrong question. Instead of asking, why wasn't I more confident? A more useful question might be, why was my brain trying, or what was my brain trying to protect me from? Understanding the mechanism doesn't solve the problem, but it changes where you begin looking for the solution. And sometimes changing the question changes everything. If you're ready to position yourself to become the obvious choice for 150K plus executive facing leadership opportunities, I invite you to apply for a confidence frequency strategy session. You can find the link below in the description or in my bio.